I've never actually written a book. Now, I did maybe when I was a kid, but a legit book. I knew I needed help.
Hi, I'm Paige Killian, and I'm passionate about helping busy moms of littles get organized in 3 simple steps. So here's today's organization motivation.
Hey there. Thanks so much for joining me. I'm Paige Killian, your host of the Moms Organization Motivation Podcast and Moms Organization Motivation over on YouTube. Today's recording is actually pulling double duty. So thanks for joining me, whether you are checking this out on video on YouTube or listening in, maybe in your car, in your earbuds while you're running some errands on the podcast. I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much. I know that you're busy. I know that your time is valuable, and I'm so grateful that you've chosen to spend it with me today. So, without further ado, let's talk about getting a best-selling book out into the world. I know that if you are a busy mom of littles and you are listening into this, you are probably juggling a lot of things all at once. That is what we do. We are made up like that. We are multitasking super moms. So if that is a position that you're finding yourself in, you might think, Paige, there's no way on earth I could ever write a book right now. I have too much going on. And listen, I hear that because sometimes the season that we're in means we are focusing on our family and that's all. Other times we're able to focus on our business and that's all. I want to remind you of a podcast episode I did in the very early days, and that was with my dear friend, Coach Kelly Mobeck. She blew my mind when years ago she talked about how there is no such thing as balance. Now, the reason I'm bringing that up on this episode, on this video today, is because when I decided to write this book, balance was non-existent. I was depleted. I was struggling. I was frustrated. I wanted to do and create so many things, and it felt like there were not enough hours in the day. Here's what I want you to hear today. If you have a message in your heart, if there is something that you feel like God wakes you up in the middle of the night and you can't stop thinking about, I want to encourage you right now to put pen to paper or grab your laptop and open it and start jotting down some ideas on a Word document, or maybe it's the notes app on your phone. But I'm telling you right now, you are going to continue to get bombarded with all of these great ideas that would be lovely to go into a book. And if you don't start jotting them down, when you do feel like when the world settles down, oh, I'm just going to sit down and crank out a best-selling book. Listen, maybe some people can do that, but I believe that it doesn't work that way. It works when you are in the middle of craziness, maybe some chaos. Maybe you're raising babies. Maybe you're raising teenagers. Oh, heaven help us all. I'm heading in that direction. Maybe that's where you're at right now. But I just want you to know that if you have got a message in your heart, it is time for you to start jotting some of those things down on paper, because you may have a best-selling book inside of you that is bursting to get out. I have to tell you that when I sat down to record this episode, I was really panicked because I was about to announce that I've written this best-selling book, and I'm going to try and tell you guys how I did it in case you want to do that. But I got a little nervous because I was like, oh, how is that going to sound? Is that going to sound vain? Is that going to be weird? I don't want to be weird. I don't want to sound vain. But here's the deal. When I wrote this, I wasn't thinking I want to write a bestseller. When I wrote this, I knew that God kept putting something on my heart that I needed to get into book form. And what ended up happening is the podcast was born, not the book first. The book got written, but then crazy COVID hit and this pandemic shut down my organization business. I could no longer go into people's homes and organize for them. What I could do is I could start this podcast and meet them where they were, in their homes, quarantining. Some of you were homeschooling children, and we were living on top of each other. Some of us were even working on top of doing that homeschooling and that parenting thing Oh, do you guys remember the day? Oh my goodness. And we really didn't have a light at the end of the tunnel. We had no idea how long this was going to be. So here I was having this book being written and I didn't know what to do with it. So the last thing I was thinking is that I had this best-selling book. Nope, that was not even a thought in my mind. What I can tell you now is that from conception in 2017, beginning of 2018, to now, it actually being published, being promoted out in the world, in the back of the room, whenever I'm doing speaking engagements for sale, talking about signing copies when people come. Can I just tell you, I had a crazy out of body experience today. I went to go pick up some used uniforms for my kids at the school. And when I walked up, people were like, oh my gosh, I have my book in the car. Will you sign it? Other people are like, I mean, I realize it's not a competition, but I bought 5 books. I'm giving them to my friends. And that concept, I have to tell you, like, it just never entered my mind. So I want you to know right now, if you feel like there is something tugging at your heart, don't worry about the end game. That will come. Just get your thoughts down on paper right now. So without further ado, I'm going to actually tell you how I wrote a best-selling book in 3 simple steps. Here we go. Step number 1, you're essential before you do anything else, before you talk about getting it out in the world and seeing if it'll get to bestseller status, you got to write the book. All right. Step number 1, your essential is to write it. Now let's talk about how I wrote it. I realized that I could not do this alone because I had never written a book. I've written plays, I've written children's plays, I've written lots of posts, I've written different things that go on my website to talk about products I have, I've written online courses. I've never actually written a book. Now, I did maybe when I was a kid, but a legit book. I knew I needed help. So if you are thinking about this, and you are actually thinking you don't just want this to be one big long journal entry, which some days I questioned if that was really what I was writing, it's time for you to reach out and ask for help. So I will like to highly recommend at this time Jessica Killingley. You can find her on Instagram. Reach out to me if you need her information. I will send that to you. But absolutely see what she's doing online. She pulled this book out of me and it turned into something that was way more than what I originally thought it was going to be. I originally thought, oh, it's going to be a book about organizing for busy moms of littles. And I'm going to tell people how to get organized in 3 simple steps. The end. That's it. Well, guess what? It was so much more than that, but I didn't know at the time. And thankfully, I had hired this coach who was actually she was an angel. She was an angel sent here on earth to help me out with this. I am convinced of it. And it's interesting when you open up the possibilities to writing a book, God puts these people in your life who will help you open up those doors, close some doors so you know not to go down a certain path, open some windows or some crawl spaces. But you will start to see when you say, I'm going to write a book, things start opening up when they need to. And Jessica Killingley came into my life, and I'm so glad she did, because she said, this is not just a book about organization. This is going to be a book that you bring in your faith, which is so important to you, that you talk about all the time. Remember, at the time, I didn't even have a podcast. So we didn't even have that to go on. And she said, you need to bring that in. What else do you love? And I was like, what else do I love? My kids. I mean, I'm constantly talking about my kids. She's like, yeah, bring in all the mom stories, bring in the before and afters. We're going to put photos in it. We're going to put testimonials in there from your clients. She's like, what else do you love? At the time, I was doing a lot of dancing because I was super stressed out and I love listening to music, and I was dancing all around my house, whether people were there or not. Sometimes I'd be dancing with my kids. I love listening to music and dancing. And she's like, what do you love? And I'm like, well, I love 90s hip hop. And she laughed because she's like, really? You're just like always talking about your faith and Jesus this and Jesus that and mom life, and you love 90s hip hop. And I was like, I do. I absolutely love it. I mean, like, give me some salt and pepper, shoot, like I know every word to that song. So I found a way in this book to pull from all of these things that make me who I am, things that I love, and also relate to people who I hoped would be reading it one day. And I put it into this book. Now, when I tell you that the first step is writing it, what you want to do is have that accountability partner, whether you hire a coach like Jessica Killingley, who brought these things out in me and made the book so much more than just organizing. But you also want to make sure that you've got people surrounding you who know that you've actually declared, I'm writing a book, so that they will be helpful to you. Like I mentioned, my dear friend and coach, Kelly Mobeck, told me there's no such thing as balance. So I knew that at this time in my life, I needed to share with my family that this is something I was going to be working on. And it was going to be playing a bigger, heavier role in my life than some of the other things I normally did. So I was asking my husband to help out with doing a lot of things around the house that normally fell to me. I was asking him to take over with the kids a lot more that I was doing. I was having him take the kids to birthday parties and extracurricular activities. And then I was staying up really late at night. And I was also doing all of this while I was a teacher. I was teaching second grade at the time. So trust me when I say that you can find time, even if that seems to be the thing holding you back. There are times in the day where you actually can find, or in the night, in the wee hours of the night, where you can actually write what it is that's on your heart. You can do that. So when I had decided that I was going to ask my family to help do more around the house so that I could devote a lot more time to getting this written, and I had hired Jessica Killingley to help me out as my book coach to really write this stuff down, I started with an outline. And because you guys know, even what we're talking about in this video on this episode is doing things in 3 simple steps, I wanted to break the book down to 3 separate parts. And again, those are my essentials, enhancements, and extras. So of course, I'm going to do that in the book. I'll show you now if you're watching on video. Here's the table of contents. And as you can see, I've got the foreword, the introduction, and then we have part 1, essential. You have the chapters 1 through 5 there. And then part 2, the enhancement. Then you've got chapters 6 through 13 there. And part 3, the extra. And that is chapter 14, 15, and 16 with an epilogue, acknowledgments, and a little bit about the author. So those 3 essential, enhancement, and extra parts of the book are how I decided to break it down. Within that, as I said, I had all those different chapters. So it was important to me to make sure I had a good layout, a good outline. Now, when I liken this to organization, as I just automatically do, because that's how I live my life, I think about when I start a project, what is the essential thing that I want to accomplish in that space? That's the must-have or the must-do. When you're talking about writing your book, that is what you want to accomplish. That is your message, right? And that's where I say always bring in somebody to help. Now, the enhancement is what's going to add style or value to that. And then the extra is going to be that cherry on top, what's going to take it to the next level. So in organizing, I say it's the essential purge. You're going to get rid of anything you're not using anymore. And the enhancement is going to be your sale or donation of those items you just purged. And your extra is going to be the style. So styling that space, putting in the proper containers. So I thought, how am I going to break down this book? How am I going to break down the writing process to 3 simple steps? I stuck to those same definitions. The very first one, as we're talking about now, write it. You have to write the book. That's what you're going to do. You're going to have that one heading, and then underneath it, certain things will fall, just like the outline for this book. That was important to me, to hire somebody to help me with the writing so she could write more Jesus in the margins and give me the 90s hip hop references. And what are your favorite movies that you love? Do a quote from that. And how about what scripture you're reading these days? What are you learning about in your quiet time? What do you want to share with the world? So plug those things in. So it was so great to have her. Maybe you want to have an accountability partner who encourages you to do those things. Next up, let's talk about the enhancement. So first we've got writing it. Second of all, publish it. How do you publish it? So I had this book written. We had done tons of edits, thanks to Jessica. And now it's time to actually get it published. Well, originally we were going to have it go out to traditional publishers. And then COVID hit and people were at home. And it just was one of those things that was going to be too hard to do something traditionally. So I thought, okay, well, maybe we'll do a hybrid publisher. Hybrid is when you decide that you're going to actually have someone represent you as a publisher, but then you're going to be doing a lot of the work as well. It's very much a team effort. The other possibility is self-publishing. Now, I ended up going with self-publishing, and I will talk to you a little bit more about that in a moment. But the first thing I wanted to do is tell you that I thought, I hired an expert to help me with the writing. I need to hire an expert to help me now with actually self-publishing it. Because while I had originally thought hybrid was the way to go for me, I decided that I just wanted to get it out in the world because it needed to be simple. And if you know anything about me, you know I love to simplify everything. And working with a hybrid publisher at the moment just felt too overwhelming. I didn't feel like I wanted to sink that kind of money into that at the time. Instead, I decided I was going to put some money toward hiring a publishing coach and enter Samantha Joy. So if you have your book written and now it is time for you to self-publish it or traditional or hybrid publish it, I will tell you that if you're looking for traditional publishing, stick with Jessica Killingley. She is amazing. If you're looking for hybrid or self-publishing, you got to look up Samantha Joy. She is wonderful. And she's the one who actually helped me get this done. Now, as I said, when I was writing it, I ended up having lots of editing phases. Okay. So don't be thinking you're going to write this and then you're going to put it out and it's going to be great. You're going to have to go through lots of different phases of editing. Jessica helped me with that. When Samantha Joy came in the picture and it was time to start to publish it, she actually introduced me to another editor who was going to do last looks and then actually get it up on Amazon. So she introduced me to Catherine Galan, and I am so grateful that she did because she's the one who knows all the tech stuff. And if you've been following me and listening to me for a while, or if you know me in real life, you know tech is not my strong suit. So having her be there to take all of these things that we needed, in addition to Lesia, who we found on Fiverr, to create the book cover on the front and on the back and have the summary and the bio and all the fancy things that we need, get the ISBN set up for Amazon, all of that stuff, which, by the way, if you don't know what ISBN is, basically it's just a number that any book that's ever been published gets. So you want to make sure you have your ISBN number. And if you don't know what that means, like I was a person who didn't know what that meant, that is when you have the right people who do know what's going on to get all of that stuff squared away for you. So you do the writing, you start sharing this stuff with people, and then you hand it over to the experts to actually get it published for you. So what we decided to do is go ahead and put it up self-publishing style on Amazon. And that was the enhancement, right? So I write the book. Number one, your essential, write it. Number two, the enhancement, publish it. Then we get to step three. This is your extra. This is where you're going to be promoting it. It is so important to get this step started in the very beginning. Share while you're writing with people, share on social media, share in your circles. If you're going to a book club, if you're going to a Bible study, share with people. Just like I mentioned, you want to tell your family about this, share with people that you are writing a book. You want to start getting the buzz going. You're actually promoting it as you're beginning to write it. That way people are interested. That way people are invested, and they're going to hold you accountable to actually get it done. So the promotion begins not at the very end, but as you're writing it, as you're publishing it. Do a poll. Say, guys, what do you think I should call this? What do you think the title should be? I had a group of people who I reached out to and I said, here are a slew of different titles. One of the biggest things that Samantha Joy did for me whenever we were talking about publishing it is actually, she said, this title that you have that you originally started with is great. It definitely says what it is. But I feel like this book is different. It's not just about the organization. And that's really what the original title was. She said, I feel like this is something that's so much deeper. You're talking to moms who might feel lonely or frustrated or stressed out about getting organized, but there's all these other parts of mom life that makes us feel sometimes alone. And I wanted people to understand that they were not alone, not only in getting organized, but living this mom life. I share a lot of parenting struggles and stories in the book that I went through. I mentioned that the writing process ended up becoming like therapy for me. So, what I wanted to do is convey really what the heart of the book was in the title. So, the title originally was just going to be called Everything with Style. That's what my professional organizing company is. And the subtitle was going to be something like The Busy Mom's Guide to Organize and Style Your Life in 3 Simple Steps, right? So it's really telling you what you're going to get with the book, but it didn't hit on that heart part of the book. And I was asked over and over again by Samantha as we dove deeper, what is it that you say to these moms who reach out to you to ask you to come into their homes and organize for them? Or what is it that you're saying on stages when you're talking, where you're actually connecting with these moms who are so frustrated, who are so stressed out and need your help? And I'm like, well, I just say, don't worry, I've got you, girlfriend. And she said, that's your title. And I was like, what? That's like something you say. I've got you, girlfriend. It just rolls off my tongue because that's what I say always. And she said, yeah, that's what it needs to be. It needs to be something that you are saying to that mom who's picking up this book, that she is not alone and she doesn't have to do this by herself because you've got her, right? You're in this together. So that's where that title came from. And then the subtitle really goes a little bit deeper to let you know it is not a solo mission. Not getting organized, not living this mom life, not a solo mission. We're going to do this together so that getting organized and living this mom life feels more like a team effort and you're not out on an island. And I'm not talking about the good kind of island where you have like the big floppy hat and the sunglasses and you're sipping something delicious and maybe you are taking a daytime nap. I'm talking about the kind of island where you feel like you are so alone that no one is doing this with you, that you could call out as loud as you possibly can and nobody's going to hear you because nobody gets what you're going through. And maybe you might see somebody else who looks like they might be going through the same thing and you just don't know how to connect with that person. I'm here to tell you right now that so much of diving in with a coach, if you decide to do this with someone who's going to help you write the book and actually get it out into the world, if you're talking about bestseller status, or even if you don't reach bestseller status, but you're talking about a lot of people getting their hands on this book because this message is important, you have to find a way to connect truly to the heart of what people are wanting and needing from you as they read this. And that's a tall order. So I cannot stress enough how important it is to have somebody in your corner that you're talking this stuff through so you don't feel like you're trying to write this book alone and you don't feel like you're trying to publish it and promote it alone. So that's super important. So once we got all of those details worked out, the promotion of it was actually sharing some of the process with the people who would ultimately be the ones to get the book. And then came the strategy where Samantha shared with me, you want to make sure that you are doing all of these email reach outs. So if you have a list, so if you are perhaps a mom who has a message and you want to write a book and you don't have a list because you don't actually have a business around the thing that you want to write about, it's okay. Think about the people that you're exchanging emails with and text messages with on a regular basis. Tap into those email addresses. Start sending out emails and letting people know, hey, I wrote this book. Hey, I'm publishing this book. And I would love when it comes out if you would do me a solid and go grab it quickly because the goal is for it to show up early in the charts, if that's something that's super important to you, on Amazon or wherever it is. Perhaps yours is going to be live in a bookstore on bookshelves for people to go get right away. And you want to make sure that you're emailing and texting people and reaching out individually, talking to people, like I said, book club, Bible study, Where are you going? Talk to your hairdresser, talk to the person in the grocery line, talk to your parents or your friends about sharing it whenever it comes out, having a link available, making sure you know what you're about to post. Maybe you want to do a photo shoot. And so you want to be able to have some of these things ready to be shared when it goes live and it gets published. One of the things that Samantha, so smartly suggested is that the first thing we do is actually putting it out on Kindle. So that's an e-reader. And the reason we wanted to lead with that is because people could go in for a very small amount of money at $2.99, right? Because if you're talking about an e-reader, you don't actually have to pay to print that and then ship it out. You just get the e-reader. And so that doesn't take any time. That doesn't take any printing cost and paper and all of that. So she said, let's put it on first on Kindle, and people can grab that e-reader for $2.99. Then when it comes out on paperback, the cost of the Kindle will go up, and your paperback a few days later that's released on Amazon will be at a very small price. I think we priced it at like $7.99 because again, you want to make sure that you have it at a low price where people want to grab it right away. They want to grab multiple copies right away. And then you want to make sure that you have it low enough that they'll get it, but you price it high enough to where it actually covers the cost of printing, and then you'll still get a little smidge of return on that. So after that, that paperback went up a few days later. And so that's why it was so important for me to tell people in emails, for me to hop on social media and do lives and let people know it's at its teeny tiniest price right now. So you want to make sure you're getting it right now. That was a big part of the promotion. Not only did that help increase sales, get the buzz going, make it super exciting, but that's exactly what drove it up to the very top of the charts. And we ended up plugging in some categories on Amazon, some on the back end that helped boosting it. I made sure that the people who I was trusting because they were experts, I listened to them when they suggested these are some great keywords to have. You want to make sure whenever you're doing the summary on the back of the book and even your bio, those count as keywords already, searchable words that when people go to look for an organizing book on Amazon, online, if they go to look for something about mom life, something about parenting, something about their faith and having that be important in their life, those were the things that were going to be mentioned in my summary, in my bio. Those were going to be things that we wanted to make sure that we had those keywords plugged in on the back end on Amazon, so it would shoot it to the top of the feed of these people whenever they were searching it. So that was super hugely important. And again, if you're hiring people who do know this stuff, even though you might not know this stuff, that is the beauty of having that be taken off your plate, because you can trust these people who do know what they're talking about. So I want to make sure that I recap for you exactly what I did. And remember that this can be something that halfway through the process, you just want to give up if you keep thinking about all the different millions of steps that go into this. I'm going to highly recommend that you pick 3 simple steps to break down this process of getting your book out in the world. And then within that, you can break up all of the little moving parts that you got to have. And my number one bit of advice is find some experts who are going to help you with this process. It is amazing to have your friends and family and loved ones support you, but some of them have never written a book in their life. Some of them have never published or are promoting a book. So while they can be super supportive, they don't really know how this works. So hiring an expert is absolutely paramount. And that's how I have no doubt that it got to bestseller when I launched it. I got to tell you that the promotion of it was so, wow, well received when I was hopping on social media and letting you guys know that I was trying this really scary, big, hard thing and I needed your help. You showed up for me. That was part of the promotion of the book, but that was just me asking for help. So not only did I have these incredible people that I had hired, that I was trusting to help me each step of the way, but I was reaching out to friends and family and people on social media and even followers of my public page who I don't know personally, but we've connected in the last few years. And you guys showed up for me in such a big way. So much so that when this book launched on April 25th on Amazon, it shot up to bestseller in multiple categories before I even had a chance to have breakfast that day. That is crazy to me. That is beyond my comprehension. And I feel like it's because I simplified the process. I didn't overthink it, which I typically do. I hired experts who knew what I needed to do to make this a successful book launch. And I trusted that process. And I trusted that God was going to allow for whatever He had in mind, whatever His plan was, not that it was going to go out in 2018 when it was written, but that it was going to go out in 2022, so many years later, after a pandemic. And it was going to go up to bestseller in multiple categories with these heavy hitters like Marie Kondo and The Home Edit and Gary Chapman of the 5 Love Languages and Jenny Allen and Lisa Turkhurst and all of these people who I just absolutely loved and thought were so amazing at what they did. My book was then in their categories and it was going up, 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 up. And it's because of keeping it simple, hiring help, asking for people who knew what they were doing, trusting that God had a plan, and asking you guys for help. So if you are trying to write a best-selling book, if you are trying to get this message that God keeps putting on your heart over and over and over again, I highly recommend focusing on these 3 simple steps. Number 1, your essential, write it. Number 2, your enhancement, publish it. However you need to do that. Traditional, hybrid, self-publishing, just get it out in the world. And number 3, your extra, promote it. And don't forget that you can be sharing the writing process from the very beginning. Take your readers and your audience and your friends and family and total strangers along with you in this process. They are going to be the people who show up at the very end when it is actually time to get your book. They are going to show up for you in a big way because they actually feel like they've been connecting with you and following along with you, and you're sharing this process with them. They're investing in it with you. So they want you to succeed. They want to get the book. They want to get the Kindle. They want to get what's coming soon, which is going to be the book on audio. They want to get the hardcover. They want you to sign it, and they want to get multiple copies so that they can share it with other people who are important in their life. So you've got this, girlfriend. I know you do. You can absolutely write a book. You can absolutely publish it. You can promote it, and then you can be a best-selling writer as well. If I can do it, I know you can do it. So if you need any more help, please reach out to me. There's a contact page at everythingwithstyle.com. I would absolutely love to support you in your journey. Don't forget to check out the description in the show notes and make sure you are connecting with these amazing powerhouse women who have helped me find your expert, get on this journey. Don't stop until you get it done, because what you have to say is important. Your mess might be your message. So go deep. Make sure you're sharing what it is that's important to you, what God keeps putting on your heart, and you will absolutely be doing what you are meant to do. Share your passion and bring your friends along with you. They will invest in you. They will want you to succeed. I know I do. Please share with me what it is you're working on right now so that I can figure out a way to support you. I am so cheering for you, so rooting you on. I promise we are in this together. You are not alone. Now you go out and get that book written. You get that book published. You promote the heck out of it, and you are going to be the next best-selling author. Hey, thanks for watching this video. For more resources to organize and style your busy life in 3 simple steps, head over to everythingwithstyle.com and connect with me on Instagram at everythingwithstylemom. Don't forget to check out the Mom's Organization Motivation podcast over on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, any of your favorite platforms. And if you loved this video, it would make me so happy if you would subscribe and share it with your friends.
Thanks so much for watching and happy organizing.